All right, and then the last thing in section 6.1 is looking at our basic steps for solving a linear equation. All right, now I think we're all pretty clear on what your tools are, right? You always do the opposite to move things to the other side, right? Multiplication to division, addition to subtraction, right? When you need to move something to the other side and get the variable by itself. When you have multi-step equations, right, where, it takes more than just one step to get to the answer, you do want to be careful about your order. All right, so you've got a little acronym here, kind of like, order of operations, but this is different. Order of operations is what you follow to evaluate something. The directions that you're seeing here, these are the steps you take to solve an equation. All right, the first thing you do is always look for parentheses. If you've got parentheses, okay, go ahead and get rid of them. Distribute whatever you need to distribute because you can't solve when something's in parentheses. If you've got any fractions, multiply by the common denominator and get rid of them so that you're not having to deal with them. All right, you can't do that in an expression, but you can in an equation. Combine any like terms that you can, simplify as much as you can on either side, and then start working to move the variable to one side and everything else to the other. And as you do that, right, again, this is opposite from order of operations, you do your addition and subtraction first and finish with your multiplication and division. Okay, so let's look at one with a fraction. All right, we did one of these in class, but just to show you another one. Basically what you want to do is look at your denominators, okay? And when you have an equation, you can get rid of your fractions if you multiply by the least common denominator, which is the least common multiple, right? So the least common multiple that these things have in common would be 12, right? If you started listing out the multiples, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 4, 8, 12, 16, the first one they have in common is 12. All right, now if you were looking at an expression with no equality, then you'd have to just start rewriting everything with common denominator. But because this is an equation, equal to in there, you can just go through and multiply each term by that least common denominator. All right, now as you do that, your fractions should go away. All right, so notice here, 12 divided by 3. All right, that leaves me with 4. No more denominator. 12 divided by 3, same thing there. And then over here, 12 divided by 4 is 3. Okay, now don't forget the part that was already there, right, in your numerator. So now what you have is a 4 times 2x, but no denominator. A 4 times the 1 that was there. And a 3 times the 3. But as you write that out, right, what you're going to see is a much simpler equation to solve because there are no more fractions for you to have to deal with. So now you get your variable on one side, everything else on the other. All right, so do any addition and subtraction first. 8x is equal to 5. Then divide both sides by 8. And that's going to tell me that x is equal to 5/8. Okay, the other option here, if you get confused thinking about the least common multiple, you can do it in 2 steps. Multiply everything through by 3. Then go back and multiply everything through by 4, and that's going to get you to the same place. 8x plus 4 is equal to 9. The key is whenever you decide to multiply something, you have to do it to every term in the equation. All right, and there's some other ones in the notes here that you can look at again. So for each one of these, you can use the least common multiple to do it one time through, or if you'd rather, do separate steps and multiply by each denominator individually. All right. So anytime we're solving equations, right, we're going to look at those basic steps that were just defined. All right. The first one says do any distributing. Okay. So I've got parentheses here, and that's where I'm going to start. All right. So I'm going to have 12n plus 4. I'll distribute again over here. Watch your signs. 20n minus 30. And then I have the plus 9n. All right. After distribute comes fractions. We don't have to worry about anything there. Then we combine like terms. So anything you can simplify on either side, go ahead and do that, right? Like here, there's a 20n and a 9n. So go ahead and combine those to get it as simple as you can on either side. Then you can start working to move the variable to one side and everything else to the other. All right, so here I'm going to subtract 29n, all right, to move over to that side, right? That's going to leave me with negative 17n plus 4 is equal to negative 30. Okay, do all your addition and subtraction before you think about doing any multiplication or division. So now I'm going to subtract that 4. That'll tell me negative 17n is equal to negative 34. And now that there's no more addition or subtraction, I'm going to be good to do my division, my last step, and that's going to tell me that n is equal to positive 2. Okay, that's what this little acronym is for, all right? Just giving you kind of an outline of what you need to look for and when you need to do it to solve a multi-step linear equation. Okay, and then last thing here, you have two special cases, all right? If you are solving and your variable goes away, you either have a situation with no solution or a case where it's all real numbers, infinite. And kind of like we did with checking for a solution, you're just looking to see if it's true or false. Okay, so if I were solving this, I would start, my first step would be distribute, right? 3x minus 15. Then I got a plus x and a plus 12. 6x, now make sure when you distribute, the sign in front goes with the number. So minus 2x, and then negative 2 times positive 2 is negative 4. All right, I would combine like terms. So 3x plus x, that's a 4x here. Constant terms, negative 15 plus 12 would be minus 3. On the other side, 6x minus 2x is 4x. And I've got a minus 4. All right, now my next step would be, okay, let me start working on getting the variable on one side. So I would say, let me move this 4x, and I do that by subtracting. But notice when I do that, not only will it go away here, it'll also go away here. All right, that's what I mean when I say your variable goes away. You're left with negative 3 on one side and negative 4 on the other side. When that happens, when your variable goes away, look to see if it is a true statement or a false statement. Okay, this one's false. Negative 3 never equals negative 4. When you have a false statement, what that means is that your equation has no solution. There will never be a case where that equation holds true. All right, and the other extreme is when you're working through, your variable goes away, but you end up with a true statement. 23 always equals 23. That means this equation will always work. And so the solution here is all real numbers. Okay, that means there's an infinite number of solutions to that equation.